Good morning, friends. A quick update. I want to share with you a news clip from a video which I got from TRT Straight Talk channel. I skipped over it yesterday because I wanted to keep the video short, but I posted it under my comment section from yesterday's update. I don't know if you were able to read that comment. I assume most people have missed it. This is why I'm going to cover it today. The latest news regarding Turkey and Greece. Let me read to you this headline. Don't try to dance with Turkey. Angry Erdogan cuts off talks with Greece. The situation in the Mediterranean, the Caucasus regions, is very delicate right now, friends. And very opportunist of Turkey and Azerbaijan, actually, considering the crisis between Russia and Ukraine. So under the radar, I believe this is going to be pivotal for Turkey to gain strides in Greece and Azerbaijan in Armenia. I mentioned this yesterday, but just hold on a moment. I want to share with you that video clip. Let me read some more. Turkey will no longer hold high-level talks with neighbouring Greece. Turkish president says amid rising tensions between the traditional rivals. So stressed out, friends. Please pray for me. Please keep my family in your prayers. Please check my community post on my YouTube channel for information for the prayer request. Ankara resumed negotiations with Athens last year following a 5-year break to address differences over a range of issues such as mineral exploration in the Eastern Mediterranean and rival claims in the Aegean. And so, in the meanwhile, after a 3-year ban, the UK, so while this is going on, think about it, the UK is lifting all remaining restrictions on defence exports to Turkey, right? At the same time, Erdogan's undermining NATO, while same time, Biden is wanting to give Turkey the arms that it's seeking. Crazy situation. Almost as though the leaders who are in these nations know exactly what they're doing. Psychopaths running our world, friends. We broke off our high-level strategy council meetings with Greece. Erdogan tells the meeting of his party's lawmakers in Ankara, adding, don't you learn any lessons from history? Don't try to dance with Turkey. This is a threat. And because he's dismissive of Greece, this is only going to lead into escalation. He's not even willing to sit down and talk. Turkey's blackmailing NATO, Jerusalem Post headline, to justify its invasion of Syria. Of course, opportunist, this is the moment. He's going to strike the iron while it's hot. Ankara appears to vow that the new ethnic cleansing operation, as it claims to clear or clean what it says are terrorists from the border. Turkey has vowed a new invasion in Syria, modelled on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, claiming a need to clean or clear an area near the border of terrorists. Ankara has vowed to invade. I'm giving you the headlines. You can go to these articles to read the rest of the details. Forbes reports how denying Turkey upgraded F-16s could consolidate Greece's emergent air power advantage. So Erdogan is asking the Biden admin to give him those F-16s. And there's a sign that Biden will give in and give Erdogan what he's seeking. If the US gives Erdogan what he wants, Turkey will supersede Greece's air power. The Greek Prime Minister visited the White House in Congress mid-May to make Greece's case for acquiring 5th-generation F-35 Lightning II stealth jets while simultaneously urging the US government against selling Turkey additional modernized F-16s and upgrading its fleet. Greece is asking for help because they know what's coming on the horizon, friends, and warning against arming Turkey, because if they do, then Turkey is going to far supersede the air power of Greece, and Greece is doomed. If Ankara is denied this upgrade, you know what? It's going to happen, isn't it, friends? It's going to happen. The former empires of the Greek kingdom, Medo-Persian kingdom, the Babylonian kingdoms being consolidated under the banner of this one ruler, the Antichrist, the beast, who will manage to have 10 rulers, 10 horns, 10 toes to come together. And then they will make their onslaught against the harlot, and the persecution of the Jews and the Christians will escalate like we've never seen before. Of course, the ultimate end is coming against the Lord Jesus Christ, which will be their final demise. Of course, he will throw them into the lake of fire. We are arming the beast. Now, I'm going to share that news clip. It's from TRT Straight Talk channel. The UK lifts all remaining restrictions on weapons exports to Turkey. Madness. This is what we call the clown world that we're living in right now, friends. Pray for Greece, pray for Armenia, pray for all the believers in the regions, friends, that are going to be impacted by this war that's coming. That their faith will remain strong, that they will be courageous and steadfast and brave. I'll be back again tomorrow. Please share my messages, help me reach more people. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberkaş. After a nearly 3-year ban, the UK is lifting all remaining restrictions on defense exports to Turkey. The head of the country's defense industry agency confirmed that the arms embargo by London had ended and that the two countries are ready to bring their defense cooperation to a new level. The sanctions were first imposed back in 2019 after Turkey launched an anti-terror operation in northern Syria to clear terror groups from its border regions. The UK and several other Western countries placed a weapons embargo on Turkey in response. But pressure is now building to relax those restrictions on Ankara as Turkish military hardware and drone exports to Ukraine have helped in its defense against Russia. Meanwhile, Turkish officials also reiterated recently that Ankara will not agree to admit any new NATO members that continue to block defense exports to Turkey. Finland and Sweden have both applied to join NATO in the aftermath of Russia's attack on Ukraine, but Ankara says it will not accept the two candidates until its own security concerns are met. And joining me now from Brussels is Samuel Doveri-Vesterby. He is the director of the European Neighborhood Council. And from Atlanta, Ali Demirdaş. He is a political analyst who specializes in Turkish security policies. A warm welcome to you both. Thanks for joining me on Straight Talk. So, Samuel, the UK has lifted all restrictions on arms exports to Turkey. How significant is this move and what impact will it have on both countries' defense industries?
Well, on the 17th of February, it was made public by the Turkish Deputy Foreign Minister that the UK would remove the export license ban on arms going to Turkey, which has been placed on Turkey unilaterally since 2019, when Turkey entered northern Syria, which was perceived rather negatively by several EU countries as well as the UK and the US. Now, BAE Systems from the UK is now negotiating with Turkey to sell over 80 Eurofighter Typhoons, in cooperation with Leonardo and potentially also with Airbus, perhaps with subsidiaries in Spain and Germany and France. And so this arms bloc against Turkey, which dates back from 2019, was very much a result of the EU and NATO country viewing Turkey's operation in northeastern Syria as creating potential instability, increasing migration flows, and weakening the YPG, which, of course, has been one of the groups fighting Daesh. From the opposite side, the Turkish government, of course, viewed these missions as very necessary in order to defend Turkey's southern border and to eliminate the YPG, which is an affiliated organization of the PKK, which is, of course, a terrorist organization in Turkey, as well as being on the EU's terror list as well.
Yes.
So it should.
Crazy. Let me just say something before I go. The EU is currently stepping in and mediating, playing the mediator role between Azerbaijan and Armenia, which is sending a sign to Russia to back the heck out. We are coming in and we are going to mediate. We don't need you anymore. Which is going to put pressure on Russia to also withdraw its peacekeeping troops in Armenia on the border. There's a small military peacekeeping troops there, a small amount, which was at the border in Armenia to prevent the conflict from escalating, right? But now Russia is entangled in Ukraine. It can't afford to keep its troops in Armenia anymore. It's as though Russia has been set up for a big diversion in order for Turkey to take position of the leader in the region. Now, Turkey and Iran are heading for a conflict, it seems, over their interests in Syria and Iraq. So that's another thing to be watching out for. Russia also conducted airstrikes in Syria against Turkish-backed militants, remember? So Russia is now being told you can't have the airspaces. Azerbaijan has said that. Turkey has said that. Russia is leaving the region, friends, being pushed out. Turkey is stepping in to take the prominent position. With Russia out, Turkey is going to move in. And the West, the US-led NATO, is having to negotiate with Turkey because Turkey is making requests for Finland and Sweden to reconsider their stance on supporting those PKK rebels, right? He needs an excuse to invade the region. He wants an excuse, and he's also seeking weapons in order to do it, and we're arming him. This is the bizarre thing. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to finish the rest of this video. Please stay tuned as I'll keep on with these updates. I'll be back tomorrow.
Already mentioned that the UK has lifted this ban now, but already in 2021, the Netherlands made public announcements which basically limited restrictions on arms which can be sent to Turkey, including dual use, and basically allowing for arms to be sold to Turkey, guaranteeing in some ways that they won't end up in Syria. And I can add as well that Spain, the largest arms exporter to Turkey in the EU, has also penned defense agreements in 2021, while Leonardo, Italy's main defense industry operator, is also quite engaged with Turkey in terms of armament agreements.
But Ali, what's the reason behind lifting these restrictions on Turkey? I mean, what has changed since 2019?
That's a great question. I look at the situation from two angles. The first angle is historical. Whenever Russia / the Russian Empire has become resurgent in the Black Sea and Eastern Mediterranean, the British Empire has in the past, and England today, has had the tendency to help Turkey to counter the Russian expansion. The second angle I'm looking at it is, in the aftermath of the Brexit in 2016, the Great Britain has wanted to counter France from becoming a resurgent entity within the European Union. And France and Turkey have become regional rivals. Therefore, London is helping Turkey to counter both Russia and France.
Yes. So, Samuel, has Turkey's concerns about the presence of the PKK and YPG terror organizations in northern Syria been acknowledged by the UK, or there's a different aspect to the UK's decision, as Ali just alluded to?
Well, I think the UK's decision to allow for dual-use armament exports and to engage more with Turkey has far more to do with what Ali just mentioned vis-a-vis the Russian threat, both in Ukraine as well as specifically in Turkey's immediate northern neighborhood, meaning the Black Sea. When we look at data, especially on the Navy, on which countries have increased their capacity, the Navy's capacity in the Black Sea, unfortunately, we'll see that Turkey has been a net loser compared to countries like Ukraine and especially Russia, which have really fueled their armament industry with regards to Black Sea security. And as a result, the UK is fully aware that Turkey in this area, in this theater, is in a vulnerable situation and, of course, needs a NATO alliance.
So, Ali, will the lifting of embargoes enable British aerospace company BAE Systems to help Turkey build its fifth-generation TF stealth fighter, and what would it mean for Turkey's defenses?
Yeah, absolutely. After Turkey was basically left out of the F-35 program, Ankara has been desperate looking for a sixth-generation aircraft, a fighter aircraft, and Great Britain has become one of the most important entity that would help Turkey to develop its the most needed, sixth-generation aircraft carrier.
So we have talked about, Samuel, about Russia's attack on Ukraine, how it changed the political and military calculus throughout the region and brought maybe these two countries together. But are there any countries in line, next in line, let's say, to lift arms embargoes on Turkey? I mean, could Canada be next, for example, in this case?
Of course, there are many NATO countries and EU countries which could absolutely be next. Turkey has traditionally been an important purchaser of arms from NATO and the EU, and as a result, there is an incentive to do so. And I think the signs from the delegation visits by Sweden and Finland to Ankara seem to suggest yes as well. But of course, incursions into Syria and Iraq on a unilateral basis are problematic from many EU countries. While it's not possible to imagine that some of the conditions, like, for example, sending individuals from Turkey extradited, sending individuals from Sweden extradited to Turkey, that would be very, very difficult to imagine because of legal and independent judicial procedures. It is indeed more likely to imagine that Sweden, which is an armament, has a large armament industry, could, for example, also stop the limitations on arms selling to Turkey.
But here, Ali, how to strike a balance? Because Turkey has said that a wider scale anti-terror operation along its border with Syria will be launched soon. If it did, would the UK reimpose those sanctions?
The UK has always been sympathetic to Turkey's security threat perception coming from the southern, across the southern borders. Therefore, I'm not expecting the Great Britain to, initiate some sort of embargo, arms embargo on Turkey. Going back to Samuel's point, the threat perception of NATO / the European Union shifted from Syria / the Middle East to north, to Russia. Therefore, I'm expecting the European Union and the NATO countries within Europe are going to be more lenient towards Turkey's Syria incursion.
Samuel, you said that a unilateral action by Turkey won't be welcomed by the West. How do you think the West and Turkey as NATO allies react to a possible military operation that would expand the existing 30-kilometer deep security zone on the Syrian side of the Turkish borders? Are we likely to see more sanctions again, maybe?
I mean, I think that very much depends on how those incursions look and the degree of cooperation which is sought by Turkey together with NATO and EU allies. Like in the same way that the EU and NATO need to take into, of course, account Turkey's security concerns on its southern borders vis-a-vis the PKK, YPG, and so forth, and also need to take into account the so-called Adana Protocol. It's equally important that Turkey takes into account the EU security interest. That's, of course, Daesh, which caused thousands of deaths across the EU over the past 2 decades, in a similar fashion that the PKK has caused thousands of deaths within Turkey over the past decades. And of course, the fact that these Turkish unilateral incursions into northeastern Syria could lead to higher levels of migration, which will affect both Turkey. As we all know, Turkey has an enormous discussion domestically about migration these days, and that's a very important discussion, as there also is an enormous discussion about migration, especially in southeastern and eastern Europe today. Yes. So these areas, if there is scope for cooperation and diminishing the security concerns both of Turkey and of the EU and NATO allies, then sanctions become less likely.
Yes, but Ali, would you agree? Because what does Ankara want to achieve? We know that it wants to break this terror corridor. But as Samuel mentioned, Ankara also wants to resettle about 1 million Syrian refugees to that area. Isn't it doable? Isn't it
the notion that Turkey's incursion into Syria will create a refugee influx into Europe is wrong in many aspects. One of which is Turkey is actually staging these incursions. It has in the past staged these incursions to create a safe zone into which the refugees from within Turkey would settle there and ease not only Turkey's refugee problem, but also Europe's refugee problem. Therefore, I believe Turkey's incursion into Syria is going to help both Turkey and the European Union.
Okay, we'll see about that. Unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.